Hello, everybody. Welcome to this tropical update and happy Halloween. So let's see here. We have some spooky systems trying to form in parts of the Caribbean. So we now have three areas to watch. This area near the Azores at 20%. This might be something subtropical, but I don't think this would get a name or anything. You'll most likely be like a low pressure system that will affect the Azores in the next few days with some gusty winds and heavy rain. Then there's this other guy at 10% near Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. A trough low pressure near Puerto Rico is producing widespread cloudiness and showers over the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and Virgin Islands, Northern Leeward Islands, and adjacent waters of the Atlantic and Northeastern Caribbean. Slow development of this system is possible during the next 2 to 3 days, and as it moves west northwestward near the Great Antilles. After that, the system is expected to be absorbed into the low pressure area in the Caribbean. Regardless of development, locally heavy rains is possible during the next 2 days. Parts of the Leeward Islands, Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, and eastern Cuba, in the southeastern Bahamas. So just 10% as of now, but this might try to become something. Now there's this one, the big one. A broad area of low pressure is likely to develop over the southwestern Caribbean during the next day or two. Gradual development of the system is possible thereafter, and the tropical depression could form over the weekend or early next week, while the system drifts generally northward, northwestward, or the central western Caribbean Sea. Regardless of development, locally heavy rains possible during the next few days across area Nicaragua, Costa Rica, parts of Panama and Colombia. So be careful in those areas. Now 60% chance already. So be aware, we will show you the models in a second, but the probabilities are definitely higher. In the Eastern Pacific, there are these two lost guys, just 20% chance there. Might try to become something, but it's not that favorable there now, so it might not become anything. But there's this other area at 30% chance, so uh, it has become slightly better organized. Some development decisions is possible during the next few days as it moves west northwest, but late this weekend the wind shear will be less conductive, and even if it forms, you'll be just out there in the ocean. So be aware. Now let's maybe see some other ones. So there's the GFS. First, it does try uh, to form there a low pressure, and then it turns this into a tropical storm and goes into the Dominican Republic on November 4th. Then it goes there, might leave some heavy rain the Bahamas, and it redevelops this near the Carolinas there and goes away. But this is one scenario. This might not even form, but now there's a high probability that it will. But don't get too caught up in the GFS. That's what I meant to say. So there's the European here too. It does show a low pressure forming there, but it gradually tries to organize, and the European eventually has maybe a depression or storm in the Gulf, but then it kind of dies off. So the Europeans trying to get there with maybe something weak near the Gulf. There's the Canadian, it develops into a tropical storm, passes, affects Jamaica, just south of Jamaica, November 5th, then goes there. And the Canadian still has like a category 1 in the Gulf going towards the US. So the Canadians is like the wildest of models as of now. But let's see. The icon was quite strong yesterday as well. It tries to form something there and eventually develops a tropical depression or storm just south of Jamaica by November 5th. There's the 12Z that goes out further, shows a hurricane forming there and hitting the Yucatan. This will be almost major hurricane strength, but the icon's too strong. Don't get caught up in the icon nor in the GFS. especially the icon is even stronger than the GFS. So mm, I don't think it will be this strong, but we'll, we'll keep monitoring it. There's the Neptune as well, shows that low pressure near Puerto Rico might quickly spin up into Sunday, but many the heavy rains there. And then it gets caught up within the other low pressure, and both of them spin together and try to do something in the Gulf, but then it gets caught up into that front there. So the Neptune is not showing anything crazy either. But let's see. I'll just show the Canadian ensembles here, and then the European, the other one in another area. So there's the Canadian ensembles. They start forming the low pressure there, pass near Jamaica, through the Cayman Islands, and most of the ensembles from the Canadian go towards the Gulf or the Yucatan, and then even later does show stuff near the Eastern Caribbean, Hispaniola, and keep showing some more probabilities around there. But this is definitely a lot of support for something forming there. There's the European ensembles. Does show now it has more support there. You can see there's a lot of members showing something. Not all of them have a tropical storm, but some have like a tropical depression. Most have like tropical storm, and some even have like those oranges and pinks are hurricane strength. So some even have hurricane strength, but most likely it will be something weak, according to the European, because like some others like the icon have something stronger. So we'll keep monitoring this, but if you are like Jamaica, Cuba, the Yucatan, or even the Gulf or Hispaniola, just stay up to date with the forecast and everything, but nothing to panic. This hasn't even formed yet. So yeah, there's the GFS ensembles. It has even more support than the European. First, it shows that system near Espanol and Puerto Rico. Then it kind of gets the low pressure form in the southwestern Caribbean, goes into Jamaica, Cuba, and then it has this curving towards Florida. So yeah, some go to the Yucatan, but most of them curve towards Florida. So be aware. So so you can see all the different systems. There's this one here near the Greater Antilles. There's this one at 60% in the Caribbean, and there's the one near the Azores, the non-tropical stuff. And it even tries to spin some other random low pressures later in the Atlantic, but that won't probably become anything. But just remember to near the Caribbean. So be aware in those areas, but nothing that crazy. But gotta watch. So the European tropical storm probabilities does show like Monday the 4th, some 5% there and 5% in the Azores. On the 5th, it goes to like uh, 20 to 30% in that yellow. So definitely a little bit higher than what I showed a day ago. So it shows like 20 to 30%, and then it grows near the Cayman Islands to 30 to 40% in that brighter yellow. And then on November 7th, that yellow area grows like 30 to 40%, and then it keeps going potentially into the Gulf there and kind of dissipates. So these are definitely some better tropical storm probabilities than what we had yesterday. The tropical depression probabilities there are at 70% by November 3rd, and then November 4th goes to 80%. So this is between Colombia and Jamaica, right at the Central Caribbean there. So it already has like 80%, and that area grows by November 5th, a bigger area of 80% probabilities. The dark blue is like 80 to 90%. There's the area uh, around like 70 to 80%, 60 to 70%, especially show like 60% chance in Jamaica and some other areas. And then by November 6th, still 80 to 90% in the darker blue, now heading northwest towards the Cayman Islands and the Gulf, and then this keeps going there. So these are definitely some very high tropical depression probabilities. And another thing I want to bring to your attention is are these probabilities near the southeastern Caribbean, because it does have some tiny probabilities near the Windward Islands in South America, but those are like very tiny, probably won't form into anything. But this might be just like a strong tropical wave with more showers and storms on November 8th. So it's like 10 to 20% tropical depression probabilities there on November 8th. This might just be like a tropical wave with some more gusty rain, but we never know. The Canadian model a day ago did form something just west of the Windward Islands, so we did have an indication or two, but better just watch. And by November 12th, it does show something like 30% probabilities in the Caribbean again. So be aware in those areas. And now there we we do have some like 20% probabilities from the global tropics outlook, but before it was 40%. They actually lowered it a little bit, but week 3, like the second to third week of November, they still have 20% tropical cyclone probability there. So we'll monitor this. But another thing here, uh, is the ocean heat content for this, because it's like 175 plus in many areas. They're just south of Jamaica, they're near the northwestern Caribbean. So there's still a lot of fuel if this manages to form, and the wind shear is favorable and everything, and it passes right over those pockets of very high ocean heat content. It has some very good environment to become strong, but none of the models shows again to that strength. So you likely just be something weak, but know that the potential exists. So let's see. There's the wind shear too. The European does show more wind shear now, parts of the Greater Antilles. The low pressure starts trying to form there. The wind shear does calm down a little bit. It goes there to the northwestern Caribbean. More wind shear in the US and the northern Gulf, but where it's at, that doesn't show much, and then it kind of dies there. So this is according to the European. There's like the dry air too, does show a little bit of dry air in parts of Florida and some areas, but where this is at is very moist, and still some dry air on the west side of it, but it kind of manages to form or not. We don't know if it will form yet, but yeah, be aware. Now let's just see like the normal GFS model for precipitation, North Atlantic maybe. So here, so precipitation total. Next, just in the next day, like the next 24 hours, the GFS is more heavy rain parts of Panama and Costa Rica. Uh, this is in inches, I'll show you millimeters in a second, but it does have some pockets of heavy rain in Puerto Rico and parts of the Virgin Islands, so be careful there too. The northern portion of the Dominican Republic, be careful there. And if I put this all the way to 90 hours, it does show some very heavy accumulations in Costa Rica, parts of western or northern Colombia, and in parts of the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico still some bigger accumulations. Also showing parts of El Salvador and Nicaragua some more accumulations too. There's the European model in the next 90 hours. So it does show a lot in Panama, especially in southwestern Costa Rica. So there might be some flooding potential parts of Costa Rica and Panama, especially. So there'll be some heavier storms in Nicaragua and parts of Honduras from time to time, but the real flood threat is parts of Nicaragua and Costa Rica. Especially Panama, not much Nicaragua, more Panama will get the heaviest rain. So be careful there. It does show more rain parts of the Virgin Islands and northeastern Caribbean. so be careful there too. And there's also the Canadian model here, so not sure if it has like rainfall, but let's see what it shows. Here it does have, so it has like in Panama and Costa Rica close to like 12 or 15 inches of rainfall there, so there will be a lot until Monday. So this like the next 4 days or something until Monday. Yes, close to 100 millimeters in Nicaragua too, parts of El Salvador. Has a lot near Puerto Rico and those areas, but not directly over. But it does have something like 50 to 100 millimeters in parts of Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. So be careful. And near parts of northern Guatemala and some areas too. So stay safe there. Like to see a little bit closer up now, just in the next like 2 days, the European model already shows parts of Panama, especially on the Pacific side. It's like 115 millimeters, 143 millimeters, 188 millimeters. So be careful there. Costa Rica shows more southern Costa Rica, close to 100 millimeters. Nicaragua, there might be some storms already, especially on the Pacific near El Salvador and southern Honduras. So be aware there. Colombia, northern coast of Colombia should have some heavier downpours. Be careful in Cartagena. There's some more uh, some bigger populated areas there, and shows more parts of western Colombia too. So be aware those areas. And they're showing the next 2 days more in the Virgin Islands, close to 77 millimeters in Puerto Rico, uh, parts of Anguilla, northeastern Caribbean, some 49 millimeters, 20, 30. So be aware, in the northernmost coast of the Dominican Republic, close to like 75 millimeters. So be careful. Northeastern Cuba still some like 73 millimeters. So be aware. But now, this is until Sunday. If I put this until Tuesday, take a look at this. The European model has upwards of 500 millimeters in Costa Rica until Tuesday. It has like in Panama 400 millimeters, 300 millimeters. So this could generate some very life-threatening flooding there if this happened, because this model could be a little bit exaggerating, but this is a possibility. So like 500 millimeters in Costa Rica, further north, so like 200 millimeters. San Jose, so 189 and 85 shows more northern Costa Rica, but especially like northern Panama, southern Costa Rica will get hit very hard. So please please know this and be mindful there during the next few days. Shows more southern Panama, so like 400 millimeters. In other parts of southern Panama, so that's like 300 millimeters. In Panama City, just like 100. But in those other areas, it will be very intense. It does show northernmost Colombia, some 198. And there's the GFS too. It has the worst like northern Costa Rica instead of southern Costa Rica. So this could well be over Panama in southern Costa Rica, or this could be further north near central northern Costa Rica. So it's hard to know exactly where will be the hardest hit, because each model has a different idea. But just if you are in all of Costa Rica and Panama, just be careful during the next few days and stay up to date with the forecast. So the GFS like 300, 400 millimeters, so some parts of Costa Rica, right on the Pacific, show like some 412 millimeters, more areas on the coast there like 300 to 400 millimeters. So please stay safe. Has close to 100 millimeters in Panama, in some areas, in western Colombia too. So stay safe. And the GFS in northern Colombia is like 200 millimeters, so be careful. Then it has this heading to the Dominican Republic and Haiti, more than 100 millimeters as others, but the GFS is now going towards Hispaniola, and yesterday was going towards the Gulf. So predicting where exactly this will go is kind of hard, but most likely it will go to the northwestern Caribbean and the Gulf, like most models are showing. Let's see, there's the icon 2 in the next 5 days. It shows parts of southern western Costa Rica, some 200 millimeters, 200, like 310 millimeters. So please be careful. Some flooding there, especially on the Pacific side. And shows some heavier storms in Honduras and El Salvador from time to time, maybe a little bit heavier downpours in northwestern Nicaragua and some other areas. And on the colored areas, we'll get some rainstorms. So yeah, it shows more parts of southern Mexico and Guatemala and Belize might get some storms too. So be aware there. The Eastern Caribbean does show more showers and some thunderstorms close to 40 millimeters. Might be some periods of a little bit heavier rain near Barbados or Guadeloupe and some other areas, but nothing that crazy. If I put this until November 9th, it does show that next tropical wave there that shows you those like tropical depression probabilities. And until November 9th, the European model does have like 90 to 93 millimeters parts of the Caribbean, like 100 millimeters in Guadeloupe, and Barbados like some 90 millimeters until November 9th. But that's very far. But we'll monitor that. So stay safe in those areas, especially in Central America there. Be careful with the flooding. So let's just mention this in Spanish really quick. Entonces, a este sistema que está tentando formar en el Caribe, que puede dejar lluvias muy fuertes al norte de Colombia, muestra más de 100-200 milímetros estas zonas del norte de Colombia, incluyendo Cartagena. Entonces, precauciones con lluvia más fuerte, tormentas, algunas inundaciones y oeste de Colombia también. Y si estás en Panamá o Costa Rica, muestra más de 300 milímetros nos próximos 4 días, principalmente en el sur de Costa Rica, muestra más de 400 milímetros, unas zonas y hasta 540 milímetros. Entonces, muchísimas precauciones, más de 100-200 milímetros, otras zonas de Costa Rica y sur de Panamá, sí. Entonces, muchísimas precauciones. También puede haber más tormentas en partes de Guatemala, Belice y principalmente en El Salvador, sur de Honduras y Nicaragua y otras zonas de Honduras también, y extremo sur de México y más algunas lluvias o tormentas sur y leste de México. Entonces, precauciones. Y ahí en México, cerca de Texas, algunas tormentas. Y es esto. Precauciones. Hay otros modelos que muestran diferente, como 400 milímetros más al norte de Costa Rica y otras zonas. Pero precauciones. Good. So stay safe there. Be mindful of the heavy rainfall and the winds does show a little bit gusty winds near the Bahamas, like Thursday today to Friday. And let's just switch this. So like some 67 kilometer per hour gusts near the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos. In Cuba, it's a little bit windier as well, but these winds kind of continue there, especially near the Turks and Caicos. But eventually, like by the 4th, they start winding down. But you'll generally be windier in that zone, and if it's windier, that there'll be some slightly bigger surf too. Not big, but slightly bigger. So you can be aware those areas. Now in the Atlantic, we have that area near the Azores. That shows some big winds there and big waves, like some 4-meter, 3-meter waves. And wind gusts does show the area spinning there in the Atlantic. There's now this front in the Azores. Alright, some gusty winds there, and this keeps going. Does show that this low pressure system approaches like Legends in the western Azores, close 63 km per hour gusts. On Saturday, this goes there, kind of dives south, might affect the southern Azores with some stronger winds, and then it goes away there. But even after that, there might be some more waves of systems near the Azores, especially November 5th shows another system crossing there with stronger winds, and then goes away. So be aware in those areas, and later we might have more stuff as well. So be aware, this system now on satellite does show this cold front there, some rain occurring in the Azores, and the low pressure system out there. So let's see, in the next 2 days, alright, it shows some rain in the Azores, close to 99 millimeters in some area. In the next 1 day and 8 hours, that rain. In the next 5 days, it has some areas of the Azores, close to like 100 millimeters in some areas. So be aware. Cuidado nas Azores com essa frente fria, com mais chuva assim e vento. Good. So be aware there. And this is mainly it. So be aware of the heavier showers and storms near the northeastern Caribbean too. Turks and Caicos and Bahamas might have more showers and some storms.